So now our basic skeleton is almost ready, and now let's go on to the Firebase console and we'll be doing our very first thing. So go into the database in here, and the first thing that we'll be doing is manipulating the rule. Now this is not a good idea, but we do have a limitation in this app, so that is why we are doing it in here. Now this is not at all a good idea, and I repeat myself again, this is not at all a good idea. So what I'm telling in here is that there is a rule in the Firebase that says only people who are authorized, that means who have logged in into the Firebase app, should be able to read and write the database. Now in our application, what we are doing, we are not allowing to user to logged in or something. So that is why we are amending the rule again, which is not a good idea, but we are doing it in here. In the next tab, when we'll be learning about the authentication, like creating a user or logging into a user, then for sure you can call the component at that point of time. That would be really easy. So right now, let's just change this. So we are looking for a triple equal there, and just remove this exclamatory with the triple equal and press Command S to save this, and there we go, rules are published. So what we are looking is in the database, go to the rules and change this to triple equal. Like for example, we are just saying in here that, hey, if it is unauthorized, then allow him to read and write. That is all we are doing in here. I know this is a very bad practice, but let's just say we are getting started with the Firebase. We want things to be less complicated, and for sure in the next project we are going to do and learn about the authentication as well. So let's go back into the database, and you can see it's kind of a big object in which we can store more objects in here, and that's pretty much it. Okay, and I think that's it for now. And now let's go in here and try to go into usurvey.js and do a few more things in here. Now the very first thing that we'll be doing is creating two variables in here. So we are going to create first of all Firebase, and it's going to simply say I want you to require Firebase, and this is how you do it. There we go, Firebase is ready to rock and roll. And we're going to do same thing for one more element, which is UUID, and this is also going to say exactly the same, require what I'm typing in here, I have no idea. Probably it's a little late in here, so that is why feeling a little like that. I shouldn't be doing that. UUID, and there we go. Now our two variables are ready to rock and roll, Firebase and UUID. Now the very first thing we'll be doing is initializing our app. Although we won't be doing anything in here, we won't be interacting the database yet. In this case, we'll be doing in the further upcoming movies. Right now, let's just set everything up and make sure that our app is ready to rock and roll. So what you have to do is go into your Firebase again and make sure you are into the overview in here, and click on this add Firebase to your web app. And the great thing is you can add the same app into your Android and same database to your iOS. So that means once you have created an app in the Firebase, you can use the same database for Firebase, for iOS, for Android, and for your web. That is the beauty of Firebase. So just go ahead and click on this Firebase red button there, and it's going to load up a few things, and in the behind you can see that it's generating an app key and everything. So this is a crucial information. So just copy, we don't need the script tags or anything in here. We don't need this API or the NPM, not NPM, the CDNs of the Firebase. We don't need it because we have already included it by NPM. So just copy this config until in here, copy that. And you can also press the copy, by the way, and I'll just minimize it in here. Just paste it above your class. There we go. Now our app is completely ready to rock and roll. So Firebase customization or initialization is done in here. Now let's go ahead and talk about what kind of rule we are doing in here. Now the very first thing that we'll be doing is gonna be creating a simple constructor, because there are a few properties that I want you to have in here by default. So we are gonna simply say RCON for our constructor, and it's gonna have a few initial state values. Okay. Now the first thing that it's gonna have is gonna be simply UID. Now UID is actually a unique ID that we require, and one NPM is gonna help us to generate that. So UUID dot v1. Now this is how you generate that. Now in case you want to know more about that, there is a very good documentation, UUID in npm, and if I open that up, you can see, let me just show you from where I got this v1, and you can see that there is UUID v1. So I looked into the documentation, and you can generate the things, like for example, you can also pass on some arguments there as well, but we don't need that. And what we are looking up is generating a lot of things, like v1 is going to generate this kind of things, and v4 is going to generate this kind of thing. So whatever you like, I think v1 is completely okay. And every time an instance is being launched, this v1 is kind of a unique, so we need this one. Okay, that is being solved. Now the next thing that we require is going to be a student name. So obviously we require a student name. Right now it's going to be completely empty, but eventually we'll be filling it up, and we'll be deleting it up. So a lot of things we'll be doing. Okay, the next thing that we are going to look is going to be simply answers, which in itself is going to be an object which is going to store our answers for answer 1, answer 2, and answer 3 for our 3 questions. So answer 1, and again it's going to be simply blank at this point, and I'll press Command Shift D there, and this is going to be 2, this is going to be 3. Of course I need to separate them by comma, comma, and last one don't need a comma. Okay, now put a comma at the end in here, and we'll be doing a boolean value. Now obviously, how do we know that the questions have been submitted or not yet is going to be done by a simple variable known as an object in here is going to be is submitted. And initially it's going to be false because the answers are not yet submitted. Okay, so I hope you understand why we are creating do. I am able to explain each and every bit of why we are doing the things. Okay, that is good. So far we are doing really good. Now let's go ahead and go into the render in here. Okay, now inside the render, now we'll be working most of the time outside this return. So I'll go in here, and we'll be creating 3 kinds of if and else in here, and based on that we'll be just generating things into this division in here. Okay, so let me just show you what we are about to do. So first of all, we are going to create a simple student name variable, and we are also going to create a questions, and that is going to be, oops, what it is this questions, and there we go. Now based on what is inside the value, by the way, you should know that in here in the React, we can store actually full HTML inside just variable and can print them out. Okay, so I hope you are aware of it. So what we'll be doing is using the ES6 syntax, we'll be displaying the things in here. Okay, so we'll be doing is just delete that, and first of all it's going to be simply student name, and after that I'll put lots of lines in here, not these lines, these. And by the way, I'm just pressing a lot of minus keys, and after that we are going to say questions, and there we go. I think you didn't understand why we are doing this. You will understand these things in a minute when we'll be doing if and else about what's going into question name and what's going into the questions and all these things. Okay, so I think we have a little bit time, so let's just understand the very first part in here. So after declaring the variable, go in here, and we're going to use our very first if statement. So we are going to say in this in here, let's access the state variable in here. We are saying if this dot state dot student name is actually empty, because obviously at the very starting it's going to be empty, and let's use an and variable there, and also we are going to access this dot state dot is submitted is also false. Now I hope you can imagine what's happening in here. Now student name is not filled, and also is submitted is false. So we are in the default state. That means we need to ask the student, what is your name? Okay, so I hope you got the access to that. So in that case, we'll be filling up the student name with a simple question answer here. Just bear with me. So just write a div there, and this is going to be closed as div. And let's go in here, and we are going to use an h1 tag to ask the name of the question or the name of the student. So we'll be saying, hey student, Please let us your name. Please let us your name. Okay, that is good. Now, how we're gonna store our name? Okay, that is again a good question. So let's give it a form to the student. So we are giving it a form, and the form needs to be closed as well. Okay, that is one problem being solved, and we are gonna give it a simple input there. And let's just have a simple input. And the input is gonna have a type of text. That is good so far. And the placeholder. The placeholder is gonna be something like enter your name. Okay, looks good. And also we're gonna pass a ref there. The reference is gonna be simply using a value name, so that we can later on use an event method and can refer to this refs and can find out what user has typed into this form. Now, obviously, we don't have any access that what user has done. So far, we are just getting a form. So if I save this and open up our browser in here, let's go to the React app. Notice we just have enter your name there, and this is actually not a good deal in here. We are not doing any kind of thing in here. So we need to say that when user actually says something like John in here and hit enter, we are somehow able to print that into our console log. Okay, so this looks good so far. Now let's go in here and try to do that, or in fact we can do that in the later movies. So right now, if you are just getting an input tag in here, that is completely okay. Let's go ahead into the next video and try to print out this name into console log. So let's go into the next video.